Little overcast afternoon, a little chill here in Cedar Park. For those of you that have been with us, thank you for joining us. If this is a new visit for you, what we do here, we have a live sales floor, and we have agents coming and going, talking about their experiences, their times of talking with clients, and whatnot with going on with Medicare. So come on over. Yes. Yeah, just go ahead. You can walk across. So, as you can see, we've had a very busy dojo the previous couple weeks, but this week we're starting to see agents filtering in more slowly. We're having agents not here as much, and that is because it's getting busier. It is getting that time of the year to where agents are on the phone much longer. People are having more questions and concerns about their plan. And so that's why we're here. We want to talk about that. We want to hear from what's going on with you guys. But we also, because today is Deep Friday,
Oh gosh,
we're going
sorry about that.
yes, today's Deep Friday.
Oh no.
No, it's not going to be bad. We're not getting heavy, I promise you. We're actually going to be talking about a topic that has been going on this week, with new agents as well as veteran agents. So today's theme is going to be about agent anxiety. I don't know if you've seen, but we have new agents that have been here, and they have been talking to clients and talking to customers who are asking about Medicare, and they're learning the script and they're learning how to talk to these folks and try and control the call. And a lot of times they will lose the call, or they'll come to me, who's helping them out, and say, they hung up on me. I don't know what I did wrong. And because they're so new, they don't really know what is causing the hangups, or they just don't know how to get through to the call. So today what I wanted to talk about is just the concept of agent anxiety, the cause of it, the effect of it, and then just personal experiences that you have had maybe at the beginning of your career, or maybe recently, that may have caused agent anxiety. So let's start there. Penny, I'll start with you. Let's just look at, what can cause agent anxiety. It could be on the phone, off the phone. What has caused you this maelstrom of anxiety, if it happens?
Yeah. So I think I have two things mainly that cause me to have anxiety. One is if I either think, they've given me, the person I'm talking with has given me maybe conflicting information, or what information where I'm not sure what I want to do for them, what I need to do for them, what's really going to help them. If I don't have my plan in my head and know what I'm going to do right, like earlier in the call. So that causes me some anxiety. And I think the second thing that I have anxiety with is if I'm like using the quote tool, I'm trying to be quick and efficient, and if I'm having like technology things that are maybe slowing me down, or there's a problem with my login or whatever, where I feel like I'm not being expedient with my quote, or that sort of thing. Like I have anxiety when I feel like it's taking too long, and I should be able to go, oh yeah, it'll be this or this. We could look at this instead if you want. That'd be this if I can't go fast enough, where I think I'm maybe, and I think that makes me sound then less sure of myself, which makes the person on the phone think, maybe I should call some other places and just check. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I feel like there's pressure on me to go fast enough and smooth enough in the price quoting. The Advantage plan's that's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anxiety with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when we're doing the med subs, and I feel like I need to look at some different places and find some different, make sure I'm finding them. And then I'm not sure about all my underwriting stuff. And so that's another level of anxiety. I don't want to waste time, my time or the customer's time,
Mm-hmm.
if, company X or company B isn't going to ever get them through underwriting because of whatever health history thing they have.
Yeah.
but I don't know enough yet to
Mhm.
feel secure in knowing which companies would accept or wouldn't accept.
Mhm.
And then we're all so busy, I don't always get a chance to grab Jacob or,
Right.
he would know, or
Yeah.
Brad would know. But anyway, those are my anxiety things, my two
Well,
little
and
avenues.
to piggyback off of that, because I'm right there with you on that stuff too. But and then once you do get past all of that and you figure it out, okay, this is what we want to do. This is one that's I think you're gonna pass through underwriting, and then you get through the application. They're all so different, and then their signature things are different. And then
Right.
do you call? Do you not call? What are you supposed to say? I mean, and then you're like fumbling, and again, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. But I mean, I've only done a handful of all these different companies here and there, so it's. And then they're everybody's so busy, so you're just trying to figure it out, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
that gives me
Stressful.
anxiety because I want to make sure I don't mess it up. Like I did one
Mhm.
yesterday, and I think I messed it up, but it's
Yep.
not like we can't fix it. But
Yeah.
that gives me anxiety that
Mhm.
I'm going to mess it up with actually doing the application.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the getting to the end and making sure it gets submitted properly and signed properly, and
Mhm.
because they're all different. And do I have to call it in? And what am I supposed to say? And when they have to,
Right, the
when they
voice
have to do their
signature.
voice signature, that's
Yeah.
what I got messed up on because I didn't know what I was supposed to be saying, and whatever. But that's what gives me anxiety is the
Yeah.
the specifics,
process.
and just to make sure that that all gets entered in properly.
Yeah. So let's stay there for a second because you guys have very similar anxieties that you deal with. The root of the anxiety is the fear of making a mistake. It sounds like.
Well, and it's also the fear of making a mistake, but it's also the lack of experience with. It's just once I've done enough, 2, 3, done a couple, enough of each
Company.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I remember when I first started with Advantage Plans a few years ago, I did all my stuff in person, and it was the same way. Like, oh my gosh, did I do that right? Did I do that right? But now, like you said, in Advantage Plans, doing the application for those and figuring that stuff out, that's easy.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
And I think because we don't have to go to a bunch of different portals too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that takes a little time. You have to figure out. I guess when we have the experience where we know, you don't even look at these 2 or 3 companies because she's never going to pass underwriting
Right.
on those. Then you can narrow it down and only look at one or a second one or whatever and make sure on the prices. But fumbling around, feeling like I'm fumbling around with the portal or whatever. And then I get stressed and tense about that. Like I feel like I'm
And then you want
taking extra time.
I would rather say, okay, give me all of your medications, give me all of your doctors, give me all of your health issues. What can kind of go through the questions and then be like, let me call you back.
Right.
But then but are they going to answer?
Right.
Mhm. Yes,
So-
if you're Brad, they do answer it.
Yeah.
Brad can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the rest of us ever can, or we'll see.
But I think that people doing the supplements are more inclined to answer than the Advantage Plan people.
Mhm.
It seems like.
Yeah, because it's the nature of the business.
Mhm.
They can just pick up the phone, get a deal, and they
Mhm.
hang up and they pick up and call again. Just the structure of the Advantage Plan itself is prone to just, blowing it off to the side. Yeah. So I was thinking about anxiety and, how people deal with their anxiety. And I was just doing a lot of reading, and there was not a study, but just like kind of a concept that the feeling of anxiety is the same feeling as excitement. Like if you are in a sport and you're like in a race and you're nervous or you're like anxious, like that's the same feeling that you get when you are excited about something. Like it's the same neurotransmitters that are setting your brain to be excited about something. So like when you are getting anxious, people are like, no, don't be anxious. You should take care of this. But actually being anxious is good because it allows you to be focused on every single detail. And it allows you to okay, I'm really,
heightened awareness.
Right? So
High
you're
five, Christine.
Yeah.
We are on this.
you're clenching. But I want to ask this question: like you're clenching and your heightened awareness allows you to, focus on what you're doing. So my question to you is, does this concept apply to sales, specifically Medicare sales? That anxiety and that heightened awareness is going to be beneficial to helping your client get that sale.
Yeah, maybe I just thought that I had is that when you have the notion that you're feeling anxious, then you maybe say to yourself, this is a normal response, and I'm going to just go with this and like ride through this because I'm potentially about to help this person and help myself at the same time. So let's get down to brass tacks here. Let's take care of this right now because, I mean, those of us here and others, agents who are listening would know that you have to focus, like you said, right, Stephen? Mm-hmm. You're like, you're on the computer screen, copy and paste,
Right.
this field, that field, this username, this password, and this prescription drug that has like 7 syllables to the name.
Right.
Okay, you know what I mean? So, but in that way, relax into it, maybe, perhaps,
well,
right?
And these, it's not like we're going to mess things up so bad that they can't be fixed.
Right.
And I have to try to remember that sometimes. Like, the way I did the supplement thing yesterday is we ended up doing, well, they wanted to do it this way too. They wanted to do it through email. And the guy has a power of attorney, although the client really doesn't really need, could have just done it by himself. But his cousin has power of attorney. We just did it anyway, that way. It would maybe get declined, it may not get declined. So we'll just have to put it back through. We'll just have to redo it without power of attorney.
Right.
So it's not like we're going to screw something up so badly.
Right, and he's not allowed to reapply.
That we're going to mess them up for life.
Right.
So, but in the moment when you're like, we're not thinking that. I'm thinking,
no, exactly.
why am I like, sometimes it's more like, what is wrong with me? Just relax. It's no big deal.
Right.
I was getting frustrated with myself.
Yeah, exactly. I get frustrated with myself.
Because you don't want the client to think that you don't know what you're doing.
Right. I think that's the ultimate anxiety, is we fear internally that if we give one inclination of mishandling this particular call, that they're going to say, "Oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing."
But I try to be honest sometimes and just say, "Look, there's so many different companies and so many different things. Just give me a second. I'm going to make sure I'm doing this right. And I haven't done a lot of this company's applications. I've done a lot of these applications. This one's a little bit newer. So I try to."
Right.
And then I say,
explain that it's just this particular application.
I've got other people here to help me, so you're in good hands. So don't worry. I try to reassure, but
anyway.
Yeah,
exactly. I think the ultimate thing is we know we're doing something good for this person and their health and future of their health care and their cost and everything, and so trying not to not lose that by having them lose confidence when it's really just a little silly computer
I've never had anybody
portal issue or whatever
I've never had anybody act like I didn't know what it's. I've never had anybody be negative about anything.
Right.
It's just us feeling that way.
Yeah, I think that's the truth, is that you've made it this far on the call. Like they've trusted you with their business. You aren't stumbling through anything. I think that anxiety that is just internalized because it's the technical aspect of it. It's the submission of it that you're nervous about, not the interaction.
Right.
So let's transition now. You guys ever feel anxiety at the front end of the call?
Sure.
In any type? So what happens there? Like, how do you handle, or how do you embrace, if you will, your anxiety at the front end?
You can usually tell with the first 2 seconds if it's going to be an easy call, or if it's going to be an easy call, a maybe call, or they're going to hate you call. really quickly.
Yeah.
So those first few seconds when you're trying to give your intro, that little bit of nervousness when you're trying to make sure you do a good intro. I always get nervous right at first.
Mhm.
And then if they start talking to me, and if they're really nice at first, and I'm like immediately like calm. And if they're like, oh, I didn't ask for help.
Any help?
I don't know what you're talking about. Then you're like, now I gotta like ramp it up and like convince them to stay on the phone.
Right.
So, 50-50, I convince them to stay on the phone, and the other half, they just hang up on me.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but you do what you can, though.
yeah.
I think with that anxiety, especially when we started working with newer agents, or you start hearing with newer agents, it comes down to handling objections. There's two ways of looking at handling objections. One way is we got to overcome the objection. We got to overcome it, But the second way is the way we do it. There should be no objections. So when someone's like, I did not submit anything, it's like, well, I'm here to help.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I've been doing. I've just been kind of like, hey, look, I'm not here to sell you anything. I just want to make sure you're in the best position. I'm like, let me tell you what we do here, and I just kind of go through that.
Yeah, and I think that's way better.
And then we're like, don't hang up. Like, just wait. Just give me a second. Let me tell you what this phone call's like. We're not like those people that call and
Right.
just have like their numbers aren't up to it, and so they're going to tell you whatever they want to tell you and get you to switch so they have their numbers up. We don't do that here. It's like we're trying to make sure. And that's not in this.
Right.
But
We're trying to keep them on the phone.
but it is
I mean, it's.
part of it.
I mean,
It's in the spirit.
It's part of telling what we do.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the company. I'm talking about what I do. I'm talking about how we do things,
Mhm.
which is different than how some of these other people that are calling them.
Yeah.
And saying, well, I thought it was on Humana, but all of a sudden I'm on United Healthcare and I'm not supposed to be, but I
Right.
don't know how that happened. I'm like, I don't know how that
Yeah.
happens.
Right.
Yeah.
But so another point that's relevant to what you were saying is that I know that I've seen people, and I'll do it myself, but you stay on the phone with somebody, if you can help them, even if it is not helping you to make money or anything like
Right.
that, you're just like, okay, well, let's just, okay, you're lonely, you want to talk to somebody for a few
Oh, yeah.
minutes, like,
Yeah.
like, okay, tell me a little bit more about what's going on and how can we help you? And like, I'm new enough to know that, like, I don't know exactly what is going to make me or anybody else at this company money, and sometimes maybe we're just helping somebody and not making any money at all.
Yeah.
So but yeah, we're here to help people one way or the other.
Right. It's a
I
good
mean, I think
feeling to
that's-
help someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're talking to a lot of people that are in fairly grim situations, from a certain perspective. And so maybe they just need somebody to talk to for a few minutes, and whatever maybe you can, through the conversation, figure out how you can help them, and perhaps it's going to help you. But if you don't, you have to establish some kind of rapport either way.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a lady call in yesterday. She was asking for food stamps. She's like, I need help with my food stamps. Who do I call? And I said, oh, well, the number that you called is a Medicare agency. We work specifically with Medicare. And I just introduced myself before I even talked about food stamps.
Right.
And so she's like, oh yeah, well, I have a Medicare Advantage plan. So I didn't immediately get anxious and say, oh, let me give you what you need. I just said, well, no, this is a Medicare agency. We help people with the Medicare. Do you have Medicare? So what I did was I kept her on the phone. I said, well, look, before we get into the Medicare conversation, I want to address why you called. So I looked up the food stamp facility in Waco. I said, okay, there's your number. Just put it off to the side. Now let's talk about
your Advantage plan.
Let's talk about your Advantage plan, because it sounds like, you're looking for food. I didn't say this. You're looking for food stamps, so you're probably financially struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just intimated like, okay, well, let's talk about plans. We are coming up on the season where you're able to change. So I have an appointment with her in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It went from not being anxious, like, oh, like that. And that's what agents need to hear, is that we are not talking to customers. We're not talking to clients. We're talking to human beings
Right.
Yeah.
who need help.
Yeah. And so while it's in my mind still, if you don't mind,
Please.
I was going to say, so two things are on my mind right now, which is one, I was talking to this lady and she was giving me information about her situation. And so she said, and you have to kind of parse it out a lot of the times because they may, not enunciate very clearly. Maybe their speech is somewhat impaired perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's you're a well care. Okay, well care. I know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then she said, scan venture. Okay. And so then I was telling Jacob, actually, after I got off the phone with her, because I made an appointment with her to follow up with her because we may switch her from one advantage. I actually asked you about that same phone call because we may switch her to a better Advantage plan or see about the possibility of getting her back on, to a supplemental plan to her Medicare. Right.
Yeah.
So, but Jacob said, well, did you Google it? I said, scan venture. I said, this might mean something to you. This scan venture. And he's like, well, did you Google it? And so I Googled it and he's and it came up and then and I'm like, well, so do you want me to click on this and read through it right now? He's like, oh yeah, go ahead, click on it.
Mm-hmm.
Find out. But so, just doing research essentially while you're on the phone with somebody potentially, because I could have done that, but I was talking about other stuff. So I'm not putting, giving myself a hard time about it. But now I know it, okay, just copy and paste real quick and Google it and see what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And another instance is this actually more related to just helping people because Jacob was researching another prospective clients information and because she didn't know what her premium was for an Advantage plan and so on and so forth. So he was looking it up and then he figured out that their premium was actually going to go down. But in the meantime, while he was doing that, she said, I can't find the information about the premium because my computer went out. It's not working right. And I said, oh, well, what kind of computer do you have? And she said, I said, it's a laptop. Okay. So what kind of laptop is it? And she said, it's a Samsung. And so I turn it on and turn it off and the screen is all black. And I'm all like, well, do you have it? I'm like, okay, I'm thinking to myself, I have an Apple. I'm an Apple user for a long time. And if you call Apple, they'll sit on the phone with you and help you.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, hopefully Samsung has got at least a robust support center,
right,
as they do. And I'm like, I just Googled the support number for Samsung. And I'm like, here, write this number down.
Right.
Yeah.
So there, it's that didn't benefit me other than the fact to get a good feeling out of it because I'm helping this older woman that her laptop is not working and probably the only computer she has, right? So her phone works though.
Yeah.
And she can call Samsung.
Yeah.
And I said, what was her name? Nancy, or what? I can't remember her name right now. But I said, you give those people an earful. Tell them your computer's not working right. You want it to work.
Right.
So and we laughed about it. So that's just another reference.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times we forget as agents is that there is an anxiety coming from them. Mm-hmm. We are the experts. Mm-hmm. And even if you are a new agent like yourself, you still know more than them because you have the resources available to answer any question that they can have. And if you can't answer the question, you know where to get it.
I just say,
Exactly.
Jacob. Hey,
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. But that's what we have to remember about agent anxiety and the front end and the back end is that there's a anxiety coming from their end as well. Mm-hmm. There's I talk to agents all the time. It's look, anytime someone is yelling at you, okay, whether stop calling me or I got this taken care of, you have to realize that they don't know who you are. They're just speaking from the experience that they've had. So think about it for a second. If someone is yelling at you, stop calling me. People are calling me. I'm tired of people calling me. That tells you you're picking up the phone every time that someone calls you. Mm-hmm. Stop picking up the phone. If you really want help, you will figure it out. And one of the ways to figure it out is stop picking up the phone. And you know how we can do that is I can help you do that. Yeah. There has to be a little bit of confidence in being an agent to give a little bit of pushback to say, look, I'm here to help. First and foremost, I'm here to help you out. I'm here to get you in the right plan that makes sense for you for 2023.
Yeah.
But you have to trust me to do it. I'm not going to try and put you in any bad position. And I know that my business is ascribing to phones and talking to you on the phone.
Right.
So you're going to talk to people that may sound trusting and they're not. I have dealt with tons of clients that have told me, oh yeah, I'm in this plan. And then I go and check and it's like, no, you're on this plan. And they're like, I never signed up for that plan ever. So I don't know if I trust them or not, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And then they tell their story and it's like, oh, I'm assuming that you probably said that plan sounds great. You never committed to it. You just said that this was a nice plan but you're happy where you're at. They're just going to run with it and just change the plan because they
I
can.
still don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't either. But
Well,
it does.
There's a multitude
Well,
of SAPs that they
I
can.
talked to this lady
What's an
yesterday.
SAP?
I'll tell you that.
I talked to this lady yesterday, and this was after I was telling you guys this. After I was telling you this yesterday, like 5 o'clock. Yesterday in yesterday morning's meeting, Jacob had told us even if somebody hangs up on us, just keep it in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call. I was calling out, and the last person that called, they said they hung up on me. So I was like, oh, great, but I'll try it, right? So her name was something weird to pronounce. So she answered, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to butcher your name, but let me give it a shot. And so I said it, and I was like, is that right? She says, you got it. I was like,
Oh, nice.
great. And then I said, okay. And I told her who I was, and I was like, hey, you know what? Don't hang up. Like, just don't hang up. She was like, what? And then I told her, and then she didn't hang up.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, you put in a request, you went on Facebook. I don't know if you went to the website, but somehow your name came across my desk and you needed some help. She was like, no, I don't know. I was like, I don't know, but what can I do to help you? She's like, you know what? I actually have a question. So
Boom.
That was
yeah.
Yeah.
She had a question about if her Medicaid was still active. So I was like, okay, I can totally do that, but I'm going to need you to give me your Medicare number and your birthday. That's all I need. I was like, are you okay with that? And she was like, yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
So
good.
she gave it to me. So then I was like, no, your Medicaid's not active, but you have LIS. And so then I was like, okay, and you're on this plan right now, the Humana plan. She was like, yeah, I know. I'm supposed to be on Aetna. And somehow somebody switched me to Humana. I was like, yeah, and it's effective October 1st. She was like, yeah, I know. And I don't know how that happened. So I was like, yeah, I don't know how that happened either. I was like, somebody got you on the phone and you said some sentence, like you just said. You said a sentence somewhere and somebody was like you
That's
said.
good enough for me.
Yeah, you said, yeah, that sounds good. Or you said, yes. And I said, look, we have to do this scope of appointment. I have to text you this thing. And then we do it this way. I was like, so we are above all that shady business. Anyway, so I have an appointment with her in 2 weeks to switch her back to her Aetna plan.
So it sounds to me like perhaps this industry needs a little bit more regulation.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did. That disclaimer that we say at the beginning of each.
Right.
And there's recording the phone calls and that disclaimer, that is not going to, I mean.
That's well, they're trying their best, but
Yeah.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of how advantage plans, right? I want to stay on, just focusing on the
But-
topics. Agent anxiety. Yes.
I was nervous to call her because the person that called before
Right.
said they hung up on her,
Yeah.
but I just got over it and just
Yeah.
was like, don't hang up, don't wait.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, getting back, full circle to the concept. Yes, they are going to have this because they don't know. Well, first of all, they do know they need to get something taken care of, but they don't know who to talk to.
Right.
And some of them know that they've been burned in the past.
Yes,
Yeah.
not just with Medicare, but with
Some of these people have had their bank accounts cleaned out. Some of these
Yeah.
people have had their identities
Mhm.
stolen. Some of these
Yeah.
from answering
Happened
the
to me.
phone and talking to people. Now,
Yeah.
these are the Advantage Plan folks, not usually the supplement people.
Right.
But I mean, so they're very leery. So it takes a minute to get trust with them sometimes. But
Yeah.
once you
Yeah.
get it, usually they'll stick with you.
Yeah.
usually.
Well, I was just going to share this because I think it's relevant to what this meeting and the topic. So, and what Stephen was talking about. So I called someone, and it was so this person's name is X. Okay, let's say.
Right.
And so I said, when they answered, I said, "Hello, X." This person had a name, but right. And they said, "Well, you don't know me. Like, why are you calling me by my name?"
Right.
And then they're just like, you like one of these salespeople, and what's going, and she's just like, well, if you're one of the salespeople, then like, what, you shouldn't be calling me by my name. And then she just hung up pretty quick. Like I was trying to say, oh, I understand how you feel, like, and I've got like maybe a word or two in edgewise basically before she hung up. And I was just like, oh, I understand, bam, right? And so I conferred with the number of my associates here, and they all decided that, the conclusion was that I would call her back.
Yeah. Always.
And so she didn't answer. And so I left a message that was all about, listen, I understand that there was a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I called to help you. And that's what I'm with an organization that's the mission of the organization is to help people that need help with Medicare.
Yeah.
And so, and then some of the other stuff that's right at the introduction, right? So like I'm a Medicare advocate in the state of Kansas, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have and address any concerns. And my goal is to ensure that you get the very best healthcare you possibly can at the lowest cost to you. And I'm here to help whenever you have time. Please give me a call back. My name is Christopher Lacey, and I can be reached at this number, and so on and so forth. And please have a wonderful day. And I certainly didn't mean to bother you. Something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
So, and so it speaks to the theme of the meeting.
Yeah.
Because I was unsure as to what am I supposed to do with this lead?
Well, here's what you do.
You know what I mean?
Here's what you do.
And that's what
the way that these work and the way that we have information is that, especially the way that anytime they have put information that has triggered us to call them. So whether it was unintentional or intentional, we don't care.
Right. So
we're here talking.
So they could have been on the web and they clicked on something and they said, oh, this is a blah, 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 something or other. And then they were just like, fill out some basic information.
Yep.
And then they got to a screen where they were just like, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to close this down and forget about it. But it was already data capture and
and it gets sent out. Right. So we are just there to quell their anxiety. That's all it is. Whether it was unintentional or intentional, we're talking to them right now. And what you said earlier is right. Like, we are not somebody that is trying to manipulate the system. All we are trying to do is to make sure that you have help with something that you probably don't understand.
Right. Navigating a maze that's confusing to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the nature of the anxiety, is that they are afraid of changing what they already have. I mean, not saying that everyone is like that, because most people that understand supplements, they understand that it changes every year with the rate increase and then the opportunity to switch. But the point is that they are afraid to switch. I've had many, many conversations with people who Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplement, midway through the conversation, everything's going great, everything's going great, everything's going great. There's something that triggers in them. It's like, oh man, this guy is really good, and he is about to change something that I feel like I'm going to have to change. And you could hear them pump the brakes in their brains. You know, they start asking questions, and they start saying, can you explain that to me again? And their voice, the intonation of their voice changes. And
like
so
you're skeptical.
They start becoming skeptical, even though like I've given the presentation, I've thoroughly gone over everything. I mean, to the T in the script, but the reason that the script is so good is because it helps you recognize when that person is not on board. So when you are in the middle of the script and you start hearing these, these inflections that are like, I hear some anxiety on that other side. I'm able to recognize and catch it right away. You're going to have this. Oh, this is the best part about being an agent. You're going to give the most pristine presentation, and then they're going to be like, well, I'm going to think about it. And you're going to be like, what? You were like on board with me the entire time. I asked if you had any questions. You had none. You didn't say anything when there was a bit of confusion that I was trying to explain to you. And you said everything was great. And now you're like, oh, I want to think about it, But what you do is when you go back and to listen to that call yourself, you're able to listen to their inflections to say, ooh, this question here, the tone of that question, not the question itself, but the tone of that question is coming out as anxious. So I did not address that question to fulfill their answer. Because we know that we have clients that will do anything we tell them. And we did something to get them to trust us.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking to these people for the very first time, if we stay true to the script, it lets us be cognizant of their anxiety when the second it happens in that question.
And then you can address it at the point.
Yeah. So when you listen to people that are like, oh yeah, I didn't get that sale, or oh man, I'm not really talking to anybody. I mean, maybe they're not talking to people as much as they were the other day. But if you go back and listen to calls, like especially go back to your calls and say, all right, I haven't talked to anybody today. Well, you talked to 5 people for 30 seconds. So in your brain, you're like, I haven't talked to anybody, which, I mean, that makes sense. Conversations are conversations. But when you go into those 30 seconds, look at what they're saying to you. Are they on the defensive? How are you able to deflate the situation? And the best way to deflate the situation is just to ask them questions. If you can get past through, we're here, let's talk, ask them questions. Like, why are you mad? I had one conversation a while back. The guy was just yelling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, why are you mad? And you have to, it's kind of like a road less traveled, but you're like, look, I'm going to have to deviate here because it's like, you're really angry at something. Either it's a bad time, like you're in the middle of something, or you're just angry in life. I'm not your counselor. Like, I'm not your person that you hate the most. I'm a guy that just wants to help with the Medicare. And when you put them on the spot, one of two things are going to happen. Okay. And this is the do you feel comfortable questions. Like, do you feel comfortable knowing that you're yelling at somebody else when you have no idea why you're yelling at them? All the way to when someone doesn't want to do something, like, do you feel comfortable knowing that this opportunity that I've given to you is going to help better you, and the opportunity that you have, or the situation that you're in right now, is not going to do anything if it makes it worse?
Right.
When you are quelling their anxiety, what you have to do is you have to make them admit why they are doing what they are doing. Do you feel comfortable knowing that you are yelling at me? You're yelling at me. All I did was call you. And this is my first time calling you, or second time or third time, because you didn't answer. But it's like, what is happening to cause you? Like, we all get calls. We all get spam. And sometimes we'll get numbers.
ADT Solar calls me like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, because you probably were interested one day and then you ruined it, right?
We have ADT, so we have them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the home security.
Yeah. So like, anyway, so you talk to these people on the phone, and especially the people that come to the house, that knock on the door unsolicited, like.
Do you think I answer my door when they do that?
Probably not.
No, I don't.
Well, I always, out of respect for the game.
If I feel like talking,
my kids will answer the door like, "Mom, it's for you."
Yeah, I used to have that too.
I had one. There was some. I mean, you could tell the level of sales ability with these guys, because I mean, they're working hard. They've probably chosen this path because they're trying to. But I remember, I'll never forget this. I had one guy. He was trying to sell security. He's at my door. And he's doing the rapport building. And I'm like, okay, I'm respectfully answering his questions.
Mhm.
Then he transitions to the product, right? He's like, all right, well, I would love to talk to you about the product. And I let him do his spiel. And I'm about to say, no, thank you. He's like, I would like to come into your house and just kind of check out to see how your
Yeah,
house
and
is.
then they'll never leave.
And then it's like, whoa. Like, first of all, like I called him out. I said, look, I respect your hard work. And I know that this is part of your script to get in the house and make the sale. But man, you did not do your job. You did not build trust with me to allow you to walk into my house. And he could not say anything because he was a new guy. And I bet you 3 out of the 4 times, he's like, can I walk into your house? The customer's like,
No.
oh no, yes. They're like, yes, because it worked,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Because think about it. If you
I
are
won't
not,
let anybody in my house.
but that's what, like, if
Your
you,
kids do that for you, don't they?
No, they don't
you know,
let
I mean,
dogs either.
no one, yeah, if you think about it, if you're somebody who's at home, you obviously don't let anybody in your house. But like, this script must have worked because
Yeah,
he
it must
tried
be,
it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know? And I'm like, whoa, this is not, like, you cannot come into my house, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, we called them and had them come for an appointment. They didn't come to
Right.
the door and just can't. I mean,
Right.
We had them go
Right.
over,
Yeah.
but
So to go back to what
yeah,
we do,
sorry.
we just have the
Digress.
phone, you know? They don't even know what we look like.
right.
We only have the phone. So it's like, when they're automatically on the defensive, it's like, first of all, you picked up the phone.
Mhm.
Second, you got me. And I know me. I don't know you, but I know me. And I know that I've helped hundreds and hundreds of clients over the course of 4 years. And my clients call me back. Like, I talked to somebody I haven't talked to in 2 years. She's like, where have you been? I'm like, oh, I was working at this other company as a supervisor, but now I'm back working as an agent, helping with recruiting. And now I'm kind of bring my book of business back. Like, oh, yeah, we missed you. It's been really great. But the reason that happened is because I did what I was supposed to do with that person and they trusted me.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to remember that as you're talking to somebody for the first time. But you will be a very successful salesman, as I am, when you just ask them, like, why are you yelling? You know, or like, why are you so upset at something as beneficial as someone is helping you? You know, and you kind of pull them to the fold. And like I said, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to be like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be angry. And then now you're having conversations, or I don't know who you are. I don't trust you. And my MO is to be defensive. I'm putting up my walls. So I'm either going to hang up on you or I'm going to continue to be defensive, but at least you're on the phone with me. That the lifeblood of your business is the voice on the other side. If there's someone talking to you, I don't care if you're yelling at me, nobody is going to be done until they hang up with me. So if you don't like what I'm giving, then hang up. You know, I'm going to continue to ask questions, you know, and I know you guys had this before where on the other end, someone who's yelling, on the other end of the spectrum is someone who says nothing. You ever had those?
Mhm.
Oh, that's almost worse.
Yeah,
those
Where
are
you're
really hard.
Because
talking
now that anxiety builds up because you're like, speak, please.
and
Yeah.
you're
So what do
you
you say?
ask
She's gonna say,
open-ended
yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
And they still figure out a way to answer them yes and no.
Yeah.
Like you literally.
Not really.
Yeah, like you're
Not
asking
really,
them
that's
like,
it.
so do you know which Medicare plan, or like tell me about your Medicare? I don't know. Are you on a are you Advantage plan, supplement? I don't know. Well, do you have a card somewhere? I mean, it's just, and sometimes at that point you're like, okay, are you alive? Do you live under a rock?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you have a pulse? I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, that sometimes that's even worse than getting yelled at,
Right.
Mhm.
because at least they're talking, you know, at least you can like diffuse that sometimes.
Mhm.
It is. It's
Ugh.
harder for me because I can't get any sense of who they are or what's going on.
You know what I do in those situations?
What?
When I'm talking about abject silence,
Yeah.
you know, like no response, or they're just giving yes or no questions. I'll stop it. I'll say, is everything okay? Yes. Okay. Were you told not to give out information on the phone from somebody? And I've done that, and they said yes. And so it's like, so that's why you're being quiet.
Mhm.
So I feel like and I go back to this particular script that we have. Like, I've seen many scripts in the past. I've even written scripts.
Mhm.
And the reason I like our Medicare Guru script is because it allows you to ask questions
Mhm.
that allows them to speak and allows us to be receptive to when they are giving us clues, like, hey, I'm anxious at this moment, or hey, I'm not sure about this moment. That's hard to teach new agents because they're asking questions and you just want to give the right answer.
Right.
Want to give the right answer.
Yeah. And we don't need their numbers. We don't need their Medicare number. We don't need their Social Security number for sure. We don't need their we don't need their number unless they're going to enroll in something, or unless we have to look up, unless they really don't know what they're in and we have to look them up, then we have to get their numbers. But I've told people before, don't give your numbers, don't give your numbers out. The only reason why I would ask for it is if I need to look something up or you're enrolling in something.
Mhm.
We don't need it. You zip code, because that's how we look up
what plans would be offered.
Birthday, maybe, but don't give your stuff out unless you're looking, like I said, unless you're looking up something or you're enrolling in something. So people are leery about giving out information. So but other people are like, you need my Social Security? You need my Medicare number? No.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't even. Yeah, some people are free with it. Some people are not.
Yeah, some people really don't know or don't remember that they shouldn't be doing it, and they give it out all the time, all the time.
I can
And
remember
they get scammed a
when
lot.
I would do this in person the last couple of years, and then I would be sitting face to face, and they would get their wallet. Usually it was men.
Mhm.
They would get their wallets out and go through their cards, and their Social Security card would be in their wallet. And I would look at them, and I would be like, "I need you to do me a favor." I'm like, "Yeah." I'd be like, "You go home, you take that out, and you put it somewhere safe at your house.
Mhm.
If you lose that wallet, and all this information is here, and your Social Security card gets in the wrong hands, your identity is gone." And kind of like, what? I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. We had this discussion the other day about people carrying 2 forms of ID and one of them being Social Security. I'm like, why are you carrying around your Social Security card?
Yeah.
It was that's not, I highly recommend to put your Social Security card in a very safe place.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's very
Anyway,
important.
that's the
Yeah.
tangent, but
No, it's a good tangent because we're going to wrap up here. We got about 10 minutes left, 10, 15 minutes. So the last part I want to get into is anxiety good?
I think it can be.
Right. Well, it's a natural human emotion, and so it, as we discussed before, it leads to a heightened sense of awareness, and so like stage fright or something like that, right? What was some sort of story, and it was some singer, I can't remember who it was, but they got advice from Frank. They talked to Frank Sinatra,
Right.
and they said, "I get so nervous when I go out on stage." And Frank Sinatra said, "That's good, because that means you care."
Yeah.
And when you get out on stage, you're gonna give it your all,
Right.
Because you're like, you gotta do this, right?
Right.
And so, on the other hand, that's a good point. But on the other hand, it's like, my point before was get ease into it a little bit, and gather your nerves, and then just execute, and be well spoken, relate to the person, and be adept and accurate. And even if it's just copy and pasting prescription drugs, and and then changing tabs, and then do the thing, and then ask them about the weather, or the hike they went on, or make a conversation while you're doing the busy work, if you can manage that, right?
Yeah.
Which we can.
Yeah, if you think about not just the amount of calls from Medicare that these people get, the amount of calls, I remember staying with my dad when I went to go help him move in Florida, and his landline rang all day.
Whoa, that's
all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's because he probably
he gave out his number a lot.
Or he picked up the phone, and which triggers okay, we can call this number now because they didn't. And he did not know. I realized, I'm like, Dad, your phone's been ringing all day. He's like, yeah, there's solicitors and spam. I'm like, but it's still ringing. Have you told him to take you off the list?
Yeah,
do the no, I didn't know that.
Right.
So I had to help him. And we were able to slow down the calls, But going back to your point, it's we have that to battle. And that's why when agents, especially new agents coming in, they're like, okay, got to stay professional, got to stay to the script, got to, stay this, say this, say this, got to stay on point. And yes, that's very important. But that's why we do this retention memory thing with the script, because we want you to have those natural conversations with people. Like we talked about last week about, apologizing to people when they say, oh man, people are calling me all day. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because if you apologize to them, you appear vulnerable. You got to agree with them. You got to say, man, I know.
Yeah, that's what I usually say. I hear that from a lot of people. I know that's got to be annoying.
It's got to be annoying because you're not only getting Medicare calls, but you're getting like cell phone service calls. You're getting, house calls,
Car warranty
calls,
Right. I've never had a warranty on my car, but I get those.
So like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so like,
They call
I
me.
understand. Like, so like the 10th call is me, it's a never cry wolf.
Yeah.
It's like, get off the phone. It's like, whoa. Hold on. Before you categorize me with all previous calls, I want you to know that I am not the previous 9 calls. I'm here to make sure that you, moving forward after this call, is taken care of with the most important thing that needs to be taken care of.
Your health.
Your health. And how you pay for your coverage.
Yeah, that's the second most important thing is your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or wait, we forgot about love.
Yes.
Which is-
That's first.
Yeah.
That's first. Yeah, that's first.
Love.
Not sure we can help with that.
Yeah.
We can listen,
So-
we can talk to them about it, I guess.
So saying like, yes, anxiety can be good in some instances, and talking to new agents, they get anxious because they have somebody on the phone, they don't know what to do, that's just overwhelming anxiety because you have no idea what's going on. It's so funny, one of the newer agents, and I'm not gonna say her name, but she came to me, she was, very excited, she got somebody on the phone. And then as soon as the lady's like, well, she was a very nice lady, she's like, well, here's my situation. She's like, I don't know what to do. So she's like totally froze. Like the anxiety just froze her. And so, we practiced it and we said, look, that's why we memorized the script.
Right.
That's why the script is there. So that way you can apply that script to say, okay, what do I do? Boom, right here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through it. Yes. We have all the questions that we can answer later in the conversation. Right now, I need to know how you're doing. I need to know what's going on with your current situation. And I will let you know, like, hey, I am here to help you. So my last thing that I want to bring up with you guys is, what are some things that you can help other newer agents push through that frozenness, that anxiety that precludes you from getting further into the call? What are some pieces of advice that you can give?
I don't know. You go first. I'm
Breathing.
Breathing.
Just
Yeah.
breathe.
Okay, so that's good. So to breathe.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Because part of the anxiety gets worse when you're like, and you stop breathing and you're kind of frozen. Then that makes it worse. If you can just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like it sort of refreshes your page.
Yeah. Yes.
Your
And
mental
that's good
page.
Yeah.
because with that breath, it lets you realize, okay, I have a process I have to follow.
Right.
So this customer is giving this vomiting of information because they're allowed to do that because that's what's
Right.
bothering them. It's on their mind. But taking control of the call goes right to the script, says, okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear that you have this problem. So here's how I'm going to help you. First, I'm going to let you know who I am. So not just some stranger on the phone that's going to dupe you, right?
Yeah.
I'm here because I've been around for 30 plus years. We're licensed in 50 states. Not one call has been, or one complaint has been filed against us.
Right.
Second thing is that when I'm done with this call, you don't have to worry about your problem. So what we need to do is we need to unpack your problem.
Right.
And then from there, now you have control of the call. Now they don't feel as anxious. You don't feel as anxious.
Right.
So that's what we need to help with that advice is
Right.
that we make you memorize the script, not because you need to repeat it verbatim. It's because when you are talking to somebody and they're giving you all this information, you have control of the call innately. Yeah.
Especially that part that's sort of, I was looking to see if I had my script here, but like it's at the second half of the second page.
Mhm.
and it's like we've been in business for
Mhm.
since 1984.
Right.
We've never had a single complaint.
Mhm.
We're here to help you, et cetera, right? So, and just because that is a very relevant part of like establishing the trust
Mhm.
and also letting them know what our organization is all about and our history.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Well,
Any
and
final thoughts?
I was just good because I feel like because when I started here in June, that's when I first started on phone selling over the phone. I
Mhm.
was usually doing it in person or some over the phone, but mostly in person.
Right.
So I feel like just in the last, like that I'm kind of finally over the really being anxious
Right.
recently myself. So that's
Mhm.
why I was like, you go first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think don't take anything personal because they don't know you.
Right.
That's good.
They don't know who you are, and
Right.
it isn't you that they're mad at, or it's not you that they're
Right.
it's just so don't take anything personal that anybody
That's good.
says.
I like that advice.
Yeah. A
And,
lot of
and
times they're hurting.
And
or
if something
completely
if something weird, if
unrelated.
you have a bad phone call, get up and take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And just get over it, and
Yeah.
then come back and start over.
that's good. So my advice is if you are a new agent or a veteran agent that is trying to figure out your career or trying to figure out, how to improve, you should watch these dojos. You should watch these dojos because we do them every day at 12 o'clock. And you can see with our Deep Friday talking about anxiety, we went on tangents. We talked about the theme. That's what's great about these days is that we're helping each other out.
It's
Yeah.
more quick. It went by fast.
It did, didn't it?
Fast,
Yes,
yeah.
it went by very well. I was very happy with what it went.
Mhm.
So with that being said, thank you for watching, everybody. And like I said, I mean, I know it's a shameless plug, but please go back to our dojos and watch. You're going to see a wealth of information from experienced and new agents talking about what is going on with the Medicare, overcoming their anxiety, learning, and sharing. So definitely check us out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.